If you already have a SharePoint implementation, it might be time to perform an upgrade to the newer version, to SharePoint 2010. If you're currently running WSS 3.0 or MOS, you can upgrade to SharePoint 2010, and there are a couple of options for that. However, before you start that process, there's some things that you need to plan for first. Make sure you have a plan, and also back up the existing sites so that you can restore them if necessary. Run the PreUpgradeCheck utility. This will check for problems within the existing databases. Resolve problems that PreUpgradeCheck reports. Install SharePoint 2010 on the server, choosing the database upgrade option. And then finally, begin the upgrade process. The two options that you can choose from is going to be the in-place or the database migration. In-place upgrade will upgrade the entire farm at one time. If you choose database migration, that option requires a separate farm to be built and ready to go. And then you would migrate the databases over and run a command that will upgrade the databases and prepare them for 2010. Planning. The upgrade process affects live sites, and so obviously impacts users. Their sites may become temporarily unavailable during the upgrade, and once the sites are available, they will look and feel a little bit different. You will want to form an upgrade team, create a project plan, and get buy-in from the stakeholders, very similar to your original deployment. It is strongly advised that you do a trial upgrade on one or more of your sites on a staging server so that you can validate the process, resolve any issues, and estimate how long the project will take. The in-place upgrade will update all of the farm at one time. You may choose the database attach upgrade. This requires to have a SharePoint 2010 farm in place, and then you would move the databases over one at a time and perform an upgrade against that database. If choosing to do the in-place upgrade, you should perform the actual upgrade after business hours or on the weekend. An upgrade converts the content databases from one schema to another, which can take quite a while depending on the content in the database. The PreUpgradeCheck utilities identify problems in WSS and MOS content databases that would cause upgrade processes to fail. You must resolve all of these problems before you can begin the upgrade. If your 2007 SharePoint environment has Service Pack 2 installed, it's expanded the STS ADM utility to include the PreUpgradeCheck command. This is required for upgrade, and errors are logged to the log file location specified in the Operations category of Central Administration. The PreUpgrade Checker reports information about the status of your environment and the SharePoint sites in that environment. Reports on servers, including components in the farm and their readiness for upgrade. Lists all alternative access mapping settings for the farm. Provides a list of all site definitions, templates, features, language packs, etc. that are installed. All templates and customizations in the current farm need to be identified and determined if they will be available and needed in the new 2010 farm. Unsupported customizations, including database schema modifications which are not supported in 2010, would also be identified. It will also list any database or orphaned items, such as list items, lists, documents, websites, site collections. Orphaned is when an object exists, but there is no association within a specific site. Objects won't work after the upgrade if they are orphaned and will need to be repaired before upgrading. If you perform an in-place upgrade, those orphaned items will exist, but they won't work. It's recommended that you repair any objects that have been orphaned before upgrading. Administrators can repair orphaned objects before the upgrade process starts using a command line operation to repair the content databases. Validates configuration settings for any missing or invalid configuration settings, such as a missing web config file, invalid host name, or invalid service accounts within the farm. Database requirements. Reports whether the databases meet the requirements for upgrade. Use the information gathered to determine the type of upgrade to perform, an in-place upgrade or a database attach upgrade. Whether to upgrade site collections that contain customized sites. Which sites need to have customizations reapplied or recreated after upgrading. This might affect the time it takes during this review stage. Okay, now that we're ready to start the upgrade, let's do a quick review before we get started. Make sure you run the pre-upgrade check. Back up your environment. Install any prerequisites. Once the upgrade is complete, the final portion will be applying the visual upgrade to the site or site collection. You can choose to do a visual upgrade one site at a time, or you can upgrade all sites in a site collection. Keep in mind that you can revert back if needed. Once you've completed the visual upgrade, have users validate and test that everything is working as it should be. Okay, now that we've met all our prerequisites, let's go ahead and start our upgrade process. The first thing we need to do is locate our media. You're going to double-click the installation file. Okay, now that it's finished extracting all of the files, we're going to install the prerequisites. Underneath the installation category, click the link Install Software Prerequisites. This step is no different than if we were doing a clean install and not an upgrade, but for our purposes we are doing an upgrade, and it's still going to go out to the internet and install these prerequisites. Accept the terms. Click Next. This will take a few minutes. Now keep in mind, whether you are upgrading a large or a small farm, many administrators will need to perform an in-place upgrade. An in-place upgrade takes place on your existing hardware and operating systems. Be sure your current hardware will support SharePoint Server 2010 before performing an in-place upgrade, and verify your operating system and so on. Okay, it's finished installing the prerequisites, and it is calling for a restart. Go ahead and click Finish, and it'll reboot the computer. After the reboot, it'll run through any additional processes. And now we have installation complete. All required prerequisites have been installed or enabled. Click Finish. Now let's go back to the installation file. And double-click it again. Okay, and now we're back to the installation dialog window. We've already installed the software prerequisites. Let's go ahead and click Install SharePoint Server. And enter in the product key. It'll validate it. If it doesn't identify the key, it will let you know. Click Continue. Accept the terms, and continue. Since this was a standalone server to begin with, we're going to click Standalone for the installation that we want. Okay, now that the binaries have been installed, we're going to run the SharePoint Configuration Wizard. Make sure that it's selected. If you have other servers, this is a standalone installation, but if you do have other servers in your farm, you would deselect this and then install the binaries on each one of the other servers before coming back to the application server to run the configuration wizard. But since this is a standalone, we're simply going to leave it as it is and click Close. And it should start the configuration wizard. Click Next. It's going to prompt you that the following service may have to be restarted or reset during configuration: IIS, the SharePoint Administration Service, and the Timer Service. Go ahead and click Yes. It's telling you that there's a default site already existing at that location. We're going to select, because this is a standalone, there was already a site there. It's going to prompt you, do you want to overwrite the existing site? Notice that Yes is shaded, so you don't get to utilize that option. We're going to click No, do not overwrite the existing site, create a new SharePoint site, and it's going to give you the URL for that. And by default, it's going to append it with a random port. Click Next. And this process will take a little bit. Okay, configuration was successful. Let's go ahead and click Finish. And it should open the site. It takes a little bit longer the first time the site is accessed. Okay. It's going to ask us at this site, the new one that it's creating, because it's part of the standalone process, what type of template do we want to utilize? We're going to say Team and click OK. And we'll go with the default groups. Click OK again. Excellent. Let's open up Central Administration just to make sure everything is functioning as it should be. We have a little bit of an error here. Let's take a peek and make sure that the site is started. Type in your credentials. We now have SharePoint 2010 installed on the server.